Hello, and welcome to tonight's story. I invite you to sit back, relax, and let your thoughts settle as I share with you the journey of my life. I am Grover Cleveland, the 22nd and 24th President of the United States. Over the next while, I will guide you through my life not as a series of facts from a history book, but as a person who has lived through choices, struggles, doubts, and moments of hope. This is the story of a man, not just a name in a timeline. Some know me because I am the only president to serve non-consecutive terms. That distinction is unique in history, yet to me, it has never been the most important part of my life. What mattered more than that was whether I could remain honest in the face of power, whether I could maintain integrity amidst temptation, and whether I could act responsibly when my country needed me. What you will hear is the result of countless decisions, sleepless nights, and years of reflection, all beginning from a simple origin that I was born in a modest town, in a house so small that one could see almost every corner from the doorway. The window frames were old wood, the floorboards creaked under each step, and the fireplace never burned as warmly as one would hope, yet it gave the room the comforting scent of home. Each morning, long before the sun rose, my mother would move gently in the kitchen. She feared waking the children, and yet her quiet steps and the slowly growing warmth of the fire filled the house with life. In the winter, frost would lace the windows with delicate patterns, and my father would use his fingers to clear a small opening so the first rays of light could enter our room. My father was a minister. He was not a man to be feared, but there was a steadiness about him that commanded attention, a presence that made it clear what was right and what was wrong. He often told us, "Son, your wealth may fail you, your position may change, but honesty will never betray you." I did not understand these words as a boy, but in the quiet hours of the night, long after I had stepped into the White House, those words returned to guide me like a steady beacon. Life was not easy. Our family was far from wealthy, and we moved many times, always starting over. Our clothing was simple, our meals modest. But it was in this ordinary, sometimes harsh life that I learned the value of persistence, humility, and resilience. Lessons that would underpin every decision I would make later as a young man. I had no grand ambitions. I never imagined politics, never imagined the presidency. I worked many jobs just to survive, carrying heavy sacks in factories, copying documents in offices, running errands, doing whatever it took to earn my keep. Late at night, I would study by the glow of an oil lamp, poring over law books. Knowing that this knowledge was my only chance to change my future, I became a lawyer not for glory, but because I recognized the power the law could give to ordinary people. Law did not belong to the wealthy or the powerful, it belonged to everyone. Later, as a lawyer, then mayor of Buffalo, then governor of New York, I rose not because I sought power, but because I refused to compromise my principles, refused to let corruption dictate my actions, and insisted on transparency and accountability. These commitments carried me to the political stage and ultimately to the White House. When I first walked into the Oval Office, I did not feel victorious. I felt the weight of responsibility. I knew that some decisions would make me unpopular, that reform would cost me support, but I also knew that without integrity, I was unfit for that office. During my first term, I vetoed many bills, some that seemed reasonable to others, but which I believed were wasteful, corrupt, or unfair. Often I sat alone in my office, fully aware that standing by my principles would cost me dearly, yet I persisted because I understood that the people had elected me to do what was right. not what was easy. When I lost my first bid for re-election, I did not feel crushed. In many ways, it was a relief. I could return to my family, to the laughter of my children, to the quiet companionship of my wife. Those days, far from the political storm, were some of the most peaceful of my life. That I thought that was the end of my political career. But history has its own ways of steering us. When the country again faced crises, turmoil, and uncertainty, the people called me back. I did not seek it. I was summoned by duty. I returned to the White House, becoming the only U.S. president to serve non-consecutive terms. The second term was far from easy. It was the most challenging time of my life. Economic collapse, failing banks, labor unrest, and political opposition. It felt like walking through a storm every day. I had to make difficult decisions quickly and bear their consequences. Beyond the external pressures, I faced a private crisis, a secret surgery necessary to protect the stability of the nation, a burden I carried in silence until many years later. Before I begin the story of my life in detail, I want you to understand that I am not perfect. I have made mistakes, hesitated, been afraid, and endured loneliness that no one could witness. Yet through it all, I have tried to do one thing: remain honest. I have tried to remain upright and accountable, and to honor the trust placed in me by the people in the hours to come. I will take you back to my childhood home, to the streets of my youth, to the nights spent studying law by candlelight, to the challenges of political life, and to the corridors of the White House. I will share the thoughts, the fears, and the quiet moments that history books never record. Now, let us begin at the very beginning. Let us start in that small house with wooden windows, with the scent of firewood in the morning air, with the low, steady voice of my father in prayer. Let us begin the story of my life. As the years drift behind me like the fading light of a long and complicated day, I find myself reflecting on the path that carried me from an ordinary childhood in a modest American town to the highest office in the nation. Not once, but twice, and in a way no other president has experienced. My life has been marked by unexpected turns, steadfast beliefs, quiet determination, and a sense of duty that guided me even when the weight of public service felt overwhelming. Tonight, I invite you to walk with me through the memories of my journey, to see the world as I saw it, to understand the choices I made, and to feel the challenges and hopes that shaped my years. That I was not born into fame, nor did I seek it. My beginnings were simple, filled with the rhythms of family life, the values of honesty and hard work, and the lessons that come from watching a nation grow and struggle. As I share my story, you may notice that it is not filled with dramatic speeches or extravagant triumphs, but rather with the steady, deliberate steps of a man who tried to remain true to his principles, even when storms surrounded him. There were times when the public admired me, and times when they questioned me, moments when I felt certain of my direction, and others when the hardships of leadership weighed heavily on my shoulders. Serving as president is an experience that tests every part of one's character. It demands patience, resolve, and a willingness to make decisions that may never be fully understood. As I look back, I see not only the challenges of my administrations, but also the quiet successes, the long nights spent balancing hope with responsibility, and the enduring trust placed in me by the American people, twice, and in two different eras of my life. It is a story of returning, of stepping away and then stepping forward again, as history called my name in ways I never expected. In this long reflection, I will guide you from my younger days in New York through the evolving chapters of my public life, the struggles of reform, the complexities of national debates, and the personal sacrifices that accompanied my time in office. You will hear of victories that came slowly, of conflicts that tested my resolve, and of the deep desire I carried to serve with integrity. As we journey together through these memories, I hope you find not only the story of a president, but also the quiet humanity of the man behind the title. So settle in, take a deep breath, and allow the pace of the past to unfold gently. This is my life, told not through the noise of politics or the urgency of history books, but through the steady voice of a man looking back, grateful for the opportunities he was given and mindful of the lessons time has revealed. Tonight, I welcome you into my story, and I invite you to see my life as I lived it. As I approached the final years of my life, time seemed simultaneously fleeting and expansive. Each day offered moments of reflection, contemplation, and quiet observation. The years of public service, the intensity of leadership, and the responsibilities carried throughout my career now converged in personal memory, allowing for a comprehensive view of a life devoted to the nation. Though the vigor of youth had waned, the mind remained alert, engaged, and deeply reflective, savoring both experience and insight. The routines of daily life became profoundly meaningful. Time spent with family, friends, and close confidants was treasured more than ever. Conversations carried weight not merely in content, but in presence, each interaction a reminder of the enduring significance of human connection. Simple pleasures, the warmth of shared meals, the stories of grandchildren, the laughter of friends, provided balance to decades of intense public responsibility. These moments, though private, offered a lens through which to view the full measure of life. Service and leadership are vital, but they are enriched by relationships, love, and shared understanding. Reflection on the arc of my public life remained constant. I revisited the pivotal decisions, crises, and achievements of my presidency and post-presidency years. Each choice, whether successful or challenged, contributed to the broader trajectory of the nation. I considered the balance between principle and pragmatism, the consequences of action and inaction, and the lessons embedded in both triumphs and trials. In these reflections, I found a deep sense of fulfillment, the awareness that service, when guided by integrity and empathy, leaves a meaningful imprint on both society and history. Public recognition and historical evaluation continued to shape my consciousness. I observed how scholars, citizens, and future leaders interpreted my policies, decisions, and leadership style. I felt a quiet satisfaction in knowing that efforts to govern responsibly, ethically, and effectively were recognized and debated in historical discourse. Yet I also understood that legacy is not static. It is a living narrative shaped by perception, analysis, and the ongoing evolution of society. Leadership, I realized, is both immediate and eternal in its consequences. Throughout these final years, I continued to write, correspond, and engage in mentorship. These activities were not motivated by personal ambition, but by the belief that accumulated experience and insight could inform, guide, and inspire those who would carry forward the work of governance. Letters exchanged with emerging leaders, discussions with historians, and reflections recorded for posterity became both a continuation of service and a contribution to the moral and practical guidance of future generations. I took care to emphasize principles: honesty, integrity, empathy, diligence, and the enduring responsibility to serve the public good. Health, inevitably, became a more prominent consideration. Physical vitality declined gradually, yet the mind remained a source of engagement and reflection. I learned to navigate this transition with acceptance, valuing mental clarity, relationships, and purposeful activity above all. Even as physical limitations emerged, the capacity for thought, reflection, and communication sustained meaning, reinforcing the idea that contribution extends beyond mere action to include wisdom, counsel, and example that as the end approached. I found comfort in the continuity of life and the enduring institutions of the nation. The Republic, with its laws, traditions, and civic structures, persisted beyond any individual tenure, shaped by the collective efforts of countless citizens across generations. This understanding brought peace. Leadership is a trust, service is a duty, but the nation endures through shared responsibility, civic virtue, and the dedication of those who followed. In final reflection, I felt gratitude for the opportunity to serve, for the challenges that shaped character, and for the achievements that benefited the public. I recognized that a life devoted to leadership and service is defined by ethical commitment, thoughtful action, and enduring concern for the welfare of others. Even as I prepared to leave this world, the lessons learned, the experiences shared, and the legacy of service remained alive, in family, in the citizens I served, and in the historical record that preserves both triumphs and trials. And so, as the last days unfolded, I embraced them with peace, reflection, and a quiet appreciation for a life of purpose. My focus shifted from accomplishment to meaning, from public recognition to the enduring values that guide both leadership and life. In leaving, I trusted that the principles of integrity, empathy, and responsible governance would continue to shape the nation, inspire future leaders, and remind all who follow that public service is both a privilege and a sacred duty. As I entered the later years of my life, the pace of public engagement slowed, yet reflection and personal contemplation became ever more profound. Stepping further from the immediate demands of governance allowed me to observe both the nation and myself with clarity. I spent hours considering the arc of my life, from early political beginnings to the responsibilities of the presidency, and now to the quieter but no less meaningful role of elder statesman and citizen observer. These moments were filled with gratitude, introspection, and a desire to leave a thoughtful legacy. Time at home with family and close friends became increasingly precious. The simple routines of domestic life, conversations over meals, quiet walks, shared memories, provided both comfort and perspective. I understood more than ever that leadership, while public in its demands, is nurtured and sustained through personal relationships. Family offered both support and grounding, reminding me that service to the nation is inseparable from the responsibilities and joys of human connection. These years reinforced the understanding that a life of public service, while demanding, is enriched by the presence of those we love. Reflection on historical legacy occupied much of my thought. I considered how decisions, policies, and leadership style would be remembered and interpreted by future generations. What mattered most, I realized, was not transient acclaim, but the lasting impact on institutions, public trust, and societal well-being. I pondered how integrity, moral judgment, and ethical consistency would be assessed alongside achievements, and how the balance of principle and pragmatism shapes both immediate outcomes and historical perception. The awareness of this enduring responsibility inspired continued diligence in thought, writing, and counsel that I also devoted time to correspondence, mentorship, and sharing of insights. Letters from young leaders, scholars, and citizens offered both questions and perspectives on governance, history, and civic responsibility. I responded thoughtfully, emphasizing lessons learned, the importance of integrity, the value of listening, the necessity of careful deliberation, and the centrality of empathy in leadership. These exchanges reinforced the continuity of public service, reminding me that influence can extend far beyond formal office when exercised thoughtfully and responsibly. Public reflection, including the writing of memoirs and essays, allowed for a structured examination of personal experiences, policy decisions, and ethical considerations. Recording these reflections served multiple purposes: to provide a resource for future leaders, to preserve an accurate account of events, and to contemplate the lessons learned over decades of public life. I approached this work with honesty and rigor, mindful that the true value lies in clarity, integrity, and the potential to guide others toward principled action. During these years, I also observed the ongoing evolution of the nation. Changes in political dynamics, social progress, and technological advancement reminded me of the enduring and adaptive nature of governance. I reflected on how policies enacted during my tenure influenced subsequent developments, and how institutions evolved in response to both opportunity and challenge. This broader perspective reinforced humility. Leadership is a moment in time, but its effects ripple outward, shaped by circumstance, action, and ethical grounding. Personal reflection extended to the moral dimensions of life itself. I considered the interplay of ambition, duty, and character, recognizing that each choice carries consequence. I pondered the balance between personal fulfillment and public service, the lessons learned through adversity, and the value of patience, prudence, and ethical consistency. These reflections deepened both self-understanding and an appreciation for the complex responsibilities entrusted to those who lead. Finally, I found peace in understanding the dual legacy of public service and personal growth. Achievements in office, public contributions after leaving office, and the cultivation of ethical leadership all constitute a tapestry that extends beyond a single individual. I recognize that the measure of a life devoted to service is found not solely in titles or accolades, but in the enduring impact on institutions, communities, and the moral fabric of society. In contemplating this, I felt a sense of fulfillment, tempered by humility and gratitude. As the years continued, I embraced each day with reflection, engagement, and quiet appreciation for life's opportunities. I understood that history is shaped not only by policy or office, but by the choices, values, and character of those who serve. And while the demands of leadership were now behind me, the principles that guided my actions, integrity, responsibility, empathy, and dedication to the public good, remained a compass, illuminating both personal and historical understanding. In these later years, I found that service, reflection, and legacy converge, offering both satisfaction and enduring purpose. As I moved from the simplicity of early childhood into the more complex world of adolescence, I became increasingly aware of the broader society in which I lived and the responsibilities that accompanied growing maturity. School introduced me to new ideas, new faces, and a wider array of experiences than I had known at home. The classroom, with its strict order and structured lessons, became both a place of learning and a stage for observing human character. I saw ambition, curiosity, pride, and impatience among my peers, and I learned not only from books but from the interactions and choices of those around me. Even small incidents, an argument over a lesson, the outcome of a group exercise, or the fairness of a teacher's judgment, offered lessons in human behavior, ethics, and social dynamics. Work outside formal schooling became a more significant part of my life during these years. I took on responsibilities in my family's household, assisted in small community projects, and occasionally sought odd jobs that would provide both experience and the modest means to contribute to the family. Carrying baskets of provisions, tending gardens, or delivering messages allowed me to see firsthand the variety of people and the myriad ways in which they contributed to the functioning of our community. I began to understand the dignity of labor, the necessity of reliability, and the value of observing carefully how actions, no matter how small, affected others. Each task reinforced the lessons my parents had instilled: diligence, responsibility, and moral awareness. As adolescence progressed, my curiosity about the wider world intensified. I paid careful attention to the conversations of adults, whether in the streets, local markets, or gatherings in homes and public spaces. I listened to their discussions of politics, governance, commerce, and social change. Newspapers, though limited in reach, became a window into the concerns and ambitions of society at large. These experiences sharpened my understanding of the intersection between personal conduct and societal consequence, and I began to appreciate that leadership requires both character and insight. It became clear to me that knowledge alone was insufficient. Discernment, patience, and understanding of human nature were equally essential for anyone who aspired to influence public life. Friendships and peer relationships played a central role in shaping my character during these formative years. Interactions with classmates offered lessons in negotiation, empathy, and fairness. I learned to manage disagreements, to mediate conflicts, and to value the perspectives of others even when they differed from my own. Games and competitions, though seemingly trivial, became arenas in which I practiced strategy, foresight, and patience. I discovered early that winning or losing mattered less than the way one conducted oneself, the fairness of one's methods, and the respect shown to others. These lessons, subtly woven into daily life, became enduring principles in both personal and professional conduct. As I settled more deeply into the role of governor, I quickly realized that leadership is rarely static. Initial enthusiasm and early accomplishments were now tested by unforeseen challenges, opposition, and the intricate realities of governance. What had once seemed like manageable tasks now demanded a far greater degree of foresight, strategy, and resilience. The mid-period of my governorship became a time of both personal and political trial, shaping my understanding of power, responsibility, and the nature of public service. One of the most pressing challenges involved fiscal crises that threatened to disrupt ongoing projects and the delivery of essential services. Revenues fluctuated unpredictably due to economic shifts, agricultural shortfalls, and varying taxation compliance across the state. I spent countless hours poring over ledgers, reviewing reports from Treasury officials, and analyzing projected expenditures versus actual receipts. Each adjustment required a careful balance, ensuring vital services continued, maintaining public trust, and protecting long-term fiscal stability. I remember the long nights, oil lamp flickering as I recalculated budgets repeatedly, fully aware that a misjudgment could ripple outward to harm citizens who relied on state support. Political opposition grew more pronounced during these years. Some legislators and local leaders questioned my initiatives, while others pursued agendas contrary to my vision for the state. Negotiations became increasingly complex, requiring diplomacy, patience, and strategic communication. I learned to present data persuasively, appeal to shared goals, and, when necessary, stand firm in principle despite pressure to compromise. These experiences honed my ability to anticipate resistance, craft reasoned arguments, and navigate the delicate balance between compromise and conviction. Public sentiment, too, could be unpredictable. Policies that were theoretically sound sometimes met with skepticism or criticism. I made it a point to engage directly with constituents, visiting towns, attending gatherings, and listening carefully to concerns. I spoke with farmers about taxation, merchants about trade regulations, teachers about education funding, and workers about infrastructure projects. Each conversation reminded me that governance is human work. Policies exist in the context of real lives, and understanding their impact requires empathy and attentiveness. I often returned from these visits with a clearer perspective on how to adjust initiatives without compromising essential principles. During this period, social and labor issues became particularly prominent. Workers faced harsh conditions in emerging industries, and the balance between economic growth and fairness in labor relations became a central concern. I consulted with labor representatives, business owners, and community leaders to seek solutions that were both practical and ethical. Mediating disputes often required delicate negotiation, patience, and the courage to enforce policies that were just, even when unpopular with influential parties. Each resolution was a lesson in the ethical dimension of leadership, that authority carries responsibility, and that fairness, transparency, and moral courage are indispensable. Infrastructure projects, while critical, were not without complications. Weather delays, supply shortages, and bureaucratic obstacles slowed progress. I visited construction sites regularly, observing the work, conversing with laborers, and assessing the challenges firsthand. I noticed how morale, communication, and leadership at every level affected efficiency and outcomes. These experiences reinforced the importance of oversight, accountability, and direct engagement with those responsible for execution. Policy, I realized, is only as effective as its implementation. As I navigated these challenges, personal reflection became essential. The weight of responsibility, the demands of public office, and the scrutiny of both allies and opponents required resilience and clarity. I often retreated to my study late at night, reviewing decisions, anticipating future obstacles, and considering both ethical and practical dimensions of each choice. These periods of solitude strengthened my judgment and reinforced the guiding principle that leadership is a service, not a privilege. Every action must be measured against the potential impact on citizens' lives and the long-term welfare of the state. Throughout this period, mentorship and counsel from trusted advisors proved invaluable. I leaned on their experience to interpret complex situations, evaluate policy proposals, and foresee political ramifications. Yet I also learned to trust my own judgment, integrating advice with observation, principle, and careful deliberation. The dynamic interplay between counsel, personal insight, and ethical conviction became a cornerstone of my decision-making approach. That be why the end of this midterm period, I had grown significantly as a leader. I understood that governance is rarely straightforward. It is a constant negotiation between ideals and reality, ambition and limitation, authority and service. The challenges and struggles of these years taught patience, resilience, and the importance of principled leadership. They reminded me that public office is both a privilege and a moral responsibility, demanding constant vigilance, ethical clarity, and unwavering commitment to the welfare of those one serves. As I transitioned from adolescence into young adulthood, I felt a growing awareness of both opportunity and responsibility. The world beyond my immediate family and neighborhood seemed vast and full of possibilities, yet it was also filled with challenges that demanded careful thought, moral discernment, and diligent preparation. I became increasingly conscious of the need to cultivate not only knowledge and skill, but also character, judgment, and resilience. Every choice I made seemed to carry weight, not only for myself, but for those who looked to me for guidance or example. Education remained central to my daily life, but its nature evolved. I sought instruction in law, governance, and the humanities, recognizing that understanding the structures of society and the principles of justice would be essential for any meaningful contribution to public life. I studied texts on history and philosophy, examining the successes and failures of leaders, the consequences of policy, and the moral decisions that guided their actions. In evenings by candlelight, I often pored over pages, taking meticulous notes, questioning assumptions, and reflecting on how these lessons might apply to my own conduct. Learning was no longer mere curiosity. It was preparation, a deliberate shaping of mind and character in anticipation of service to others. Alongside intellectual preparation, practical experience became increasingly important. I took opportunities to engage directly with community affairs, assisting in local initiatives, volunteering in civic projects, and observing leaders as they navigated the complexities of governance. Each interaction, whether negotiating resources, mediating disputes, or organizing events, taught lessons that could not be found in books. I learned that leadership requires patience, empathy, and foresight, as well as the ability to act decisively when circumstances demand. Observation became a skill, allowing me to discern character, anticipate outcomes, and recognize both opportunity and risk. Work, too, shaped my young adulthood. Tasks in business, law, and administration taught responsibility and precision. I learned to draft documents carefully, to interpret contracts and laws, and to manage both people and resources effectively. Each assignment, no matter how modest, offered insight into human nature, negotiation, and the practical application of knowledge. Mistakes were instructive, successes were humbling. Over time, I began to understand the interplay of intellect, judgment, and ethical conduct in achieving results that were both effective and just. During this period, I also became more attuned to the political and social currents of my time. Conversations in town, newspapers, and public gatherings revealed the debates, conflicts, and aspirations that shaped our society. I noted the impact of legislation, economic policy, and social norms on the daily lives of ordinary citizens. Observing local elections, attending public meetings, and engaging with mentors familiar with law and governance, I gained a practical understanding of civic responsibility and the mechanisms through which public welfare could be advanced. These experiences reinforced the notion that leadership requires not only ambition but also knowledge, integrity, and a commitment to service. family remained a touchstone amid the wider experiences of young adulthood. I sought counsel from my parents and elders, recognizing that their wisdom, tempered by experience and moral grounding, provided guidance beyond the reach of formal education. At home, I continued to practice the values instilled in me since childhood: honesty, diligence, and respect for others. I observed the ways in which my family managed both success and adversity, noting the subtle lessons in patience, resilience, and judgment that accompanied every action. These observations reinforced the understanding that preparation for public life begins at home, in the careful cultivation of character and principle. As my presidency progressed, the initial period of assessment and planning gave way to the complex work of policy implementation. The responsibility of translating vision into action was immense, and the practical realities of governing at the national level quickly became apparent. Each initiative, no matter how well conceived, required careful coordination, negotiation, and adjustment. I came to understand that leadership is not merely the articulation of ideals, but the meticulous management of competing interests, logistical details, and human dynamics. One of the most pressing areas of focus was fiscal policy. Maintaining national solvency, ensuring fair taxation, and allocating resources efficiently demanded constant attention. I met regularly with Treasury officials, economists, and legislators to review budgets, evaluate expenditures, and consider the long-term implications of fiscal decisions. There were moments of tension as different factions advocated for competing priorities. Yet I remained guided by principle that government spending must be prudent, transparent, and aligned with the public good. The balance between immediate needs and sustainable financial policy required careful deliberation and steadfast resolve. Infrastructure development was another cornerstone of my administration. Roads, canals, and public buildings were not merely functional necessities. They were the arteries through which commerce, communication, and social life flowed. I traveled frequently to inspect projects, meet with engineers, and engage with local communities. These visits revealed both progress and challenges: supply delays, labor disputes, and unforeseen technical obstacles. Addressing these issues required collaboration, oversight, and decisive action. I realized that effective leadership combines planning with adaptability, and that even the most detailed policy can falter without active engagement and supervision. Education and social welfare initiatives demanded similar dedication. Expanding access to schools, improving curricula, and supporting teachers required careful legislation, effective administration, and sustained funding. Programs designed to aid disadvantaged communities or respond to public health concerns needed coordination across multiple departments and jurisdictions. I spent countless hours consulting experts, reviewing reports, and visiting institutions firsthand. These experiences reinforced my belief that policy is only as effective as its implementation, and that understanding the lived experience of citizens is essential for meaningful reform. Political resistance and negotiation were constant realities. Not all colleagues supported my proposals, and opposition could be both principled and strategic. I engaged in lengthy discussions, sought compromise where possible, and stood firm where principle demanded. Each legislative battle was an opportunity to refine persuasive skills, deepen understanding of policy nuances, and build alliances grounded in mutual respect. I learned that leadership requires both firmness and flexibility, and that maintaining credibility depends on consistent integrity rather than mere acquiescence to popular opinion. Public perception and engagement remained central to my approach. I continued to communicate directly with citizens, attending town halls, responding to letters, and listening to community leaders. I found that transparency, empathy, and clear explanation of policy goals foster trust and understanding. At the same time, I observed the varied expectations and concerns of a diverse populace, learning to balance immediate demands with long-term objectives. Each interaction reinforced the principle that effective governance is rooted in both ethical consideration and practical responsiveness. The administrative apparatus of the presidency presented ongoing challenges. Coordinating departments, managing personnel, and ensuring that executive directives were implemented effectively required constant oversight. I held regular meetings with cabinet members, reviewed departmental performance, and addressed bottlenecks or inefficiencies. These administrative responsibilities, though sometimes less visible, were crucial for ensuring that policy initiatives achieved their intended impact. Leadership, I realized, is as much about management and accountability as it is about vision and rhetoric. Throughout these efforts, personal reflection remained vital. The weight of responsibility, the complexity of decisions, and the scrutiny of both the public and political peers demanded resilience and self-discipline. Late nights reviewing reports, contemplating strategy, and considering ethical implications became routine. I often reminded myself that every decision would be judged not only for its effectiveness, but for its fairness, integrity, and alignment with the broader good. This mindfulness shaped both my approach and my character, reinforcing the central tenet that leadership is inseparable from moral responsibility. By the end of this period, several major initiatives were underway or had begun to bear fruit. Fiscal stability was being strengthened, infrastructure projects advanced, and education and welfare programs showed tangible improvements. The challenges faced and overcome during this stage solidified my understanding that the presidency is a delicate balance of vision, action, negotiation, and ethical responsibility. Each achievement was tempered by the recognition that governance is ongoing, and that lasting impact depends on persistence, careful management, and unwavering commitment to the welfare of the nation. As my tenure in Congress continued, I became increasingly aware that the next stage of my political journey required vision, careful planning, and the cultivation of a national profile. I had long been focused on serving my constituents and contributing to legislative progress, yet the call of greater responsibility, the possibility of shaping the nation's direction at the highest level, began to occupy my thoughts. I understood that entering the presidential arena demanded far more than ambition. It required credibility, experience, widespread support, and the ability to inspire confidence across diverse regions and political affiliations. Raising national prominence involved both action and visibility. I traveled extensively, attending events, speaking to civic organizations, and engaging with journalists and thought leaders. Each speech, each conversation, and each public appearance was an opportunity to convey my principles, explain my vision, and demonstrate both competence and character. I learned the importance of clarity and sincerity. Rhetoric without substance is empty, and visibility without credibility is hollow. Through careful engagement, I began to cultivate recognition and respect beyond my home state. Strategic relationships became increasingly important. I consulted with political allies, influential leaders, and experienced advisors to assess both the feasibility and timing of a presidential campaign. I studied previous campaigns, analyzing successes and failures, and considered how regional support, party dynamics, and public sentiment would shape any bid for the presidency. These discussions were meticulous, focusing not on personal gain but on readiness. Whether I possessed the experience, judgment, and public trust necessary to assume the nation's highest office responsibly. Public perception was a constant consideration. I maintained correspondence with citizens across the country, listened to their concerns, and observed reactions to my speeches and policy positions. I understood that credibility is earned through both principle and action, and that a national profile requires consistent demonstration of integrity, competence, and commitment. Each engagement reinforced the understanding that leadership is inseparable from public trust. Without it, even the most capable office holder can achieve little of lasting significance. Preparation for a national campaign also involved refining my policy positions and articulating a comprehensive vision for the country. I revisited issues I had worked on in Congress: education, infrastructure, economic development, and social welfare, considering how they applied on a broader scale. I examined fiscal policy, national security, and the delicate balance between states' rights and federal authority. I sought advice from experts, scholars, and seasoned politicians, integrating practical knowledge with ethical reflection to ensure that my platform was both grounded and principled. As the prospect of a presidential campaign approached, I also devoted time to personal preparation. Leadership at the national level is intensely demanding, requiring stamina, focus, and resilience. I honed my oratory skills, practiced strategic communication, and reflected deeply on my motivations, goals, and ethical framework. I understood that the presidency is not merely a position of authority. It is a role of profound responsibility, where decisions affect millions and where every choice must be guided by principle, foresight, and empathy. The process of rallying support was gradual and deliberate. I engaged with party leaders, delegates, and grassroots organizers, listening to their perspectives while articulating my vision. I recognized that coalition building requires patience, respect, and genuine collaboration. Persuasion must be rooted in reason and integrity, and alliances must be based on shared purpose rather than expediency. Through this process, I gained insight into the national political landscape, the diversity of interests and priorities, and the subtle strategies necessary for effective leadership at the highest level. Each day brought both opportunity and challenge. Public scrutiny intensified, opponents emerged, and the demands of preparation often conflicted with personal life and reflection. Yet these pressures strengthened resilience, sharpened judgment, and deepened my understanding of the ethical dimensions of leadership. I reminded myself continually that ambition must be guided by principle, that strategy must serve justice, and that every action should be measured against the welfare of the nation and its citizens. By the end of this period, I felt a growing readiness to pursue the presidency. My experience in local, state, and national politics had provided a foundation of knowledge, skill, and ethical perspective. Public recognition, built through deliberate action and principled leadership, offered the credibility necessary to enter a national campaign. Most importantly, I carried with me a sense of responsibility, the awareness that the presidency is not merely an opportunity for influence, but a solemn trust demanding wisdom, integrity, and unwavering dedication to the service of the people. As my term as governor approached its conclusion, I had the opportunity to reflect on both the progress achieved and the lessons learned. The challenges I had faced, fiscal crises, political opposition, social disputes, and infrastructure obstacles, were not merely trials. They were formative experiences that shaped my understanding of leadership, responsibility, and service. The cumulative effect of these years was a clearer vision of what effective governance entails. The combination of knowledge, diligence, ethical principle, and a steadfast commitment to the welfare of the people. One of the most gratifying aspects of my late governorship was seeing the tangible results of policies I had championed. Roads were improved, bridges repaired, and canals expanded, providing more efficient avenues for commerce and travel. Schools benefited from increased funding, improved facilities, and better trained teachers, enhancing access to education for children across the state. Public services, from sanitation to law enforcement, were strengthened, creating safer and more functional communities. Witnessing these outcomes reinforced my belief that deliberate, principled action can indeed transform the lives of ordinary citizens. The reception from constituents was both humbling and instructive. Townspeople, farmers, merchants, and laborers expressed appreciation for attention to their concerns, yet they also held me accountable for decisions that fell short of expectations. I listened carefully, learning to balance pride in accomplishments with a recognition of ongoing needs. This feedback reminded me that leadership is a continuous dialogue, requiring humility, responsiveness, and the willingness to adjust policies without compromising principle. It also reinforced the notion that trust is earned through consistent, ethical action, not through rhetoric or self-promotion. Political relationships, cultivated over years of collaboration and negotiation, became increasingly important in this final phase. Alliances that had formed, sometimes through compromise and other times through shared vision, allowed for the passage of key legislation and the implementation of ambitious initiatives. I learned that durable political success depends not solely on strategy, but on integrity, consistency, and respect for both allies and opponents. I reflected often on the delicate balance between authority and persuasion, understanding that leadership is measured as much by the ability to unify as by the ability to direct. Social and economic policies reached a stage of maturation during these years. Investments in education, infrastructure, and public services began to show measurable impact. Employment opportunities increased as industries stabilized and commerce expanded. Health and welfare initiatives improved living conditions for many families, particularly in underserved regions. I took care to ensure that these programs were sustainable, designed to endure beyond any single administration. The guiding principle remained constant. Every initiative must serve the people equitably, with foresight and moral clarity. The demands of office continued to test endurance and resolve. Each day brought new challenges: urgent correspondence, budget revisions, public inquiries, and legislative debates. I maintained a disciplined routine, dedicating time to study, reflection, and consultation. Late nights in my study, reviewing reports and contemplating decisions, became essential for maintaining both clarity and ethical rigor. These moments of quiet reflection reinforced the understanding that leadership is an active practice of conscience, judgment, and continuous engagement. As the end of my term approached, I also devoted time to mentoring younger officials and preparing the next generation for public service. I shared insights on governance, negotiation, and ethical leadership, emphasizing that true influence lies not in authority alone, but in the capacity to inspire principled action in others. Observing these individuals develop confidence, skill, and moral discernment gave me profound satisfaction, as I recognized that leadership is not measured solely by immediate achievements, but by the enduring impact on the character and competence of those who follow. Finally, I reflected on my own personal growth. The years as governor had deepened my understanding of human nature, refined my judgment, and strengthened my resilience. I had learned to navigate complexity without losing sight of principle, to engage with diverse perspectives without compromising integrity, and to act decisively while remaining attentive to consequence. These lessons became inseparable from my identity, forming the foundation for future endeavors and responsibilities. Leadership, I realized, is not a station but a continual journey of learning, reflection, and service. That I, in contemplating legacy, I recognize that governance is ultimately a moral and practical endeavor. Achievements, no matter how visible, are meaningful only when they improve the lives of citizens, uphold justice, and contribute to the long-term stability and well-being of the community. The policies implemented, the programs developed, and the relationships nurtured were all elements of a broader vision. A government responsive to the people, principled in action, and forward-looking in purpose. Leaving office, I carried with me the satisfaction of work well done, tempered by the humility that true service is never complete, and that the welfare of the public remains an enduring responsibility for those who follow. As the middle years of my presidency unfolded, I encountered the inevitable reality of crises, unforeseen, complex, and urgent. No amount of planning or preparation could fully eliminate the challenges that arise when leading a nation, and the demands of governance often required rapid adaptation, careful deliberation, and unwavering judgment. These mid-presidency years tested every skill, every principle, and every ounce of resilience I had cultivated throughout my career. Economic fluctuations presented one of the foremost challenges. Shifts in trade, agricultural production, and market confidence impacted national revenue and the livelihoods of citizens. I convened economists, financial officers, and legislative leaders to assess the situation and propose responsive measures. Budgets were revised, policies adjusted, and contingency plans implemented. The pressure was immense, for each decision affected countless lives. Yet I approached these crises with both diligence and ethical clarity, weighing immediate relief against long-term stability and fairness. Natural disasters and regional emergencies further tested the administration. Floods, storms, and public health threats required coordinated responses, involving multiple departments and local authorities. I traveled to affected areas whenever possible, observing conditions firsthand, listening to citizens, and providing guidance on relief efforts. These experiences reinforced the human dimension of governance. Policies are not abstract, but directly impact the security, safety, and well-being of real people. Every action, from resource allocation to logistical support, demanded careful planning and empathetic execution. Political opposition and public scrutiny intensified during this period. Some initiatives faced resistance in Congress, while others were questioned by the press or public opinion. I engaged in extensive dialogue, negotiation, and persuasion, always striving to balance principle with practicality. I learned that crises amplify both support and dissent, and that leadership in such times requires calm judgment, clear communication, and a steadfast commitment to ethical action. Maintaining credibility and public trust became paramount, as these qualities are essential for effective governance under pressure. Policy adjustments were often necessary in response to evolving circumstances. Early initiatives in infrastructure, education, and public welfare required refinement based on implementation feedback and changing societal needs. I held regular consultations with department heads, local officials, and citizen representatives to assess progress and identify areas for improvement. These adjustments were never undertaken lightly. Each change was carefully considered for its impact on equity, efficiency, and the broader national interest. I recognize that flexibility is a hallmark of responsible leadership, yet it must be exercised with principle, not expedience. Administrative management during these mid-presidency years was a constant endeavor. Coordinating multiple departments, ensuring accountability, and monitoring progress demanded persistent attention. I conducted frequent meetings with cabinet members and advisors, reviewing reports, evaluating outcomes, and addressing challenges proactively. The scale and complexity of the federal government revealed that effective leadership depends as much on oversight, discipline, and organization as it does on vision or rhetoric. Every initiative required both strategic planning and careful execution. Communication with the public remained essential. I sought to convey both the challenges faced and the rationale behind policy decisions. Town halls, correspondence, and public addresses allowed me to explain initiatives, address concerns, and foster understanding. Listening remained equally important. Citizen feedback informed adjustments and reinforced the ethical responsibility of governance. I found that transparency, empathy, and clarity strengthened both the effectiveness of policy and the confidence of the populace. Personal reflection continued to be a vital part of my routine. The weight of responsibility, the pressure of crises, and the constant scrutiny of decisions demanded focus, resilience, and ethical vigilance. I often retreated to study reports late into the night, contemplating the consequences of actions, the balance between competing priorities, and the lessons learned from each challenge. These periods of reflection reinforced the guiding principle that leadership is an ongoing exercise in judgment, ethics, and service to the public good. At the conclusion of these mid-presidency years, I had navigated numerous crises, adjusted policies to meet evolving needs, and strengthened the capacity of the administration to respond effectively. These experiences reinforced the understanding that governing a nation is a continuous process of assessment, action, and reflection. Success is measured not only by immediate outcomes, but by the resilience, adaptability, and ethical integrity demonstrated in the face of adversity. Each challenge, each decision, and each adjustment contributed to the long-term health, stability, and prosperity of the country, and shaped my own growth as a leader entrusted with the nation's welfare. Assuming the office of governor marked a profound shift in both responsibility and perspective. Whereas local governance had introduced me to the mechanics of public service, the scope of state leadership demanded a far broader vision and the ability to address challenges on a scale that affected hundreds of thousands. From the very first day, I understood that the decisions I made would reverberate across the state, influencing not only policy, but the lives of ordinary citizens, the economy, and the social fabric. That my earliest days in office were consumed by a thorough assessment of the state's condition. I reviewed budgets, departmental reports, and correspondence from constituents. I met with legislators, administrative heads, and advisors, seeking both detailed information and broader insight into the systemic challenges facing our communities. From fiscal imbalances to infrastructure shortcomings, public education gaps to emerging social issues, the list of priorities was both urgent and extensive. Each briefing reinforced the truth that leadership requires comprehensive understanding, deliberate planning, and decisive action. One of the first areas I focused on was public infrastructure. Roads, bridges, and canals were the arteries of commerce, yet many had suffered neglect. I commissioned surveys, consulted engineers, and met with community representatives to identify pressing needs. I vividly remember traveling to construction sites, boots sinking into soft earth, listening to the concerns of laborers and supervisors, observing progress, and noting the obstacles they faced. These field visits were more than symbolic. They allowed me to witness firsthand the challenges of implementation and the practical realities behind policy proposals. Each improvement, however modest, offered tangible evidence that governance can directly enhance the lives of citizens. Education was another priority, demanding sustained attention. Schools were unevenly funded, and access was limited in rural areas. I convened committees of educators and administrators, traveled to schools across the state, and spoke with teachers, parents, and students. I saw overcrowded classrooms, scarce textbooks, and dedicated teachers striving to nurture young minds under difficult circumstances. These experiences reinforced my belief that public investment in knowledge is not merely a civic duty, but a moral imperative. Policies to increase funding, improve teacher training, and expand access became central to my agenda, guided by the principle that opportunity should not be constrained by geography or social standing. Fiscal management was a constant challenge. Balancing budgets, ensuring transparency, and allocating resources efficiently required careful attention and disciplined judgment. I scrutinized every proposal, weighing short-term benefits against long-term stability. When difficult choices arose, I relied on both consultation and careful reflection, always mindful that every decision carried consequences for communities and individuals. There were moments of tension, legislative opposition, competing interests, and public criticism, but I found that integrity and clear communication often bridged divides and earned the trust necessary for effective governance. Social issues also demanded consideration. Emerging concerns related to public health, labor conditions, and social welfare required policies that were both compassionate and practical. I met with medical professionals, community leaders, and advocates, seeking solutions that addressed immediate needs while establishing sustainable frameworks. The process was slow and often contentious, but it reinforced the importance of listening, negotiation, and incremental progress. Each initiative reminded me that meaningful change often requires persistence, patience, and the courage to act in the face of resistance. The responsibilities of governorship also demanded a keen awareness of public perception. Every decision, every public statement, and every visit to communities contributed to trust or skepticism among constituents. I took care to communicate clearly, to explain the reasoning behind policies, and to demonstrate through action that governance is not abstract but directly connected to the welfare of citizens. Walking through towns, speaking with families, and observing daily life, I learned to measure the effectiveness of policy not only through reports but through lived experience. Legislative collaboration was an essential part of my role. Working with the state assembly required diplomacy, strategy, and perseverance. I learned when to compromise and when to stand firm, always guided by principle. Some initiatives faced resistance due to political rivalry or competing priorities, yet I found that transparency, reasoned argument, and attention to constituents' voices could sway opinion and build consensus. These experiences refined my understanding of the delicate balance between leadership, negotiation, and ethical responsibility. Beyond policy, the office demanded personal resilience. Long hours, public scrutiny, and the weight of responsibility tested both stamina and judgment. I relied on reflection, counsel from trusted advisors, and occasional moments of quiet to maintain perspective and clarity. In the solitude of my study, I often reviewed the day's decisions, pondering their implications, both practical and ethical. These periods of contemplation were as vital as any meeting or legislative session, reinforcing the principle that thoughtful deliberation is essential in leadership. It'd be why the end of my early tenure as governor, I had begun to see the tangible results of my efforts. Roads were repaired, schools improved, public services became more efficient, and constituents recognized that governance could be both effective and ethical. Yet I also understood that challenges remained, that progress was incremental, and that leadership requires constant vigilance and humility. Each achievement, each lesson, and each interaction strengthened my resolve and prepared me for the more complex demands that would follow in later years. Education continued to hold a place of central importance. As my abilities and understanding grew, I sought out additional knowledge wherever possible. Reading became both a refuge and a tool, a means of exploration and a guide to moral and practical reasoning. I immersed myself in histories, biographies, and texts that offered insight into governance, law, and human character. Each book, each lesson, each discussion with teachers or mentors broadened my perspective and reinforced the notion that knowledge and virtue are intertwined. I began to see that education is not merely a path to personal advancement, but a preparation for contributing to the welfare of others and to society as a whole. During these years, I also witnessed the challenges faced by families, neighbors, and the community at large. Economic pressures, social disputes, and local hardships were never far from view. I observed the resilience required to navigate adversity, the quiet acts of kindness that alleviated suffering, and the ways in which leadership emerged in both formal and informal contexts. These observations deepened my appreciation for empathy, moral courage, and the responsibilities inherent in positions of influence. I began to consider not only how to navigate life for my own benefit, but also how to use knowledge and character to serve others. Religious and moral instruction continued to shape my worldview. Sermons, discussions with family and mentors, and reflections on scripture and ethical lessons offered guidance on personal integrity, justice, and duty. I internalized these teachings, understanding that moral character is not demonstrated in grand declarations, but in daily choices, consistency of action, and the courage to act rightly even when it is difficult. The combination of practical experience and moral reflection nurtured a balanced sense of judgment, preparing me to face the ethical complexities of adulthood. Community engagement became increasingly important as I matured. I attended local meetings, participated in communal work, and observed leaders navigating the delicate balance between personal interest and public responsibility. Each experience provided insight into governance, negotiation, and the importance of consensus building. I learned to listen attentively, to consider the broader impact of decisions, and to approach challenges with both strategy and integrity. These early exposures to civic responsibility laid the groundwork for my eventual pursuit of law and public office, demonstrating that leadership requires both knowledge and active participation. The culmination of these adolescent experiences was the gradual formation of a personal philosophy grounded in responsibility, observation, and service. I recognized that character and ability must be applied with discernment, that understanding the world requires both study and direct engagement, and that true preparation for leadership is cultivated through careful attention to both moral and practical matters. By the time I approached adulthood, I had absorbed a foundation of values, skills, and awareness that would guide my choices, ambitions, and conduct for the rest of my life. These formative years taught me that every experience, whether triumph or trial, contributes to the development of character and the capacity to serve others faithfully. Even after leaving office, I felt a deep sense of obligation to contribute to the nation's well-being. Leadership does not end with the conclusion of formal responsibilities. It continues through influence, guidance, and example. I sought avenues to offer insight, foster understanding, and support the development of future leaders. Whether through correspondence, lectures, or participation in civic initiatives, my engagement was guided by the conviction that experience, when shared responsibly, can strengthen both individuals and institutions. Public service in this stage took on a reflective and advisory character. I corresponded with political figures, scholars, and citizens seeking perspective on governance, policy, and ethics. I offered counsel based on lessons learned over decades of service, emphasizing integrity, thoughtful deliberation, and the importance of balancing principle with practical realities. Each interaction reinforced the idea that leadership is both an action and a responsibility that extends beyond official office, influencing the culture of public life and the character of those who served. I also participated in educational and civic forums, sharing experiences with students, emerging leaders, and community organizers. These engagements were opportunities to illuminate the realities of governance, the complexities of public decision-making, and the ethical considerations that underpin effective leadership. I emphasized that the exercise of authority must always be tempered by moral reflection, empathy, and a commitment to the public good. Witnessing the enthusiasm, curiosity, and idealism of younger generations reinforced my hope for the nation's future and the enduring value of mentorship. Historical appraisal became an important dimension of post-presidential reflection. I considered how my actions, policies, and decisions would be interpreted by contemporaries and by future generations. I reflected on the long-term consequences of legislation, the management of crises, and the cultivation of public trust. Each achievement and each challenge was evaluated not only for its immediate impact, but for its contribution to the stability, integrity, and progress of national institutions. This perspective deepened my appreciation for the enduring responsibilities of leadership and the ways in which history judges both deeds and character. Engagement with social and philanthropic initiatives allowed for tangible contributions beyond the political sphere. I supported programs that promoted education, infrastructure development, and social welfare, leveraging experience and networks to advance initiatives that addressed pressing societal needs. These activities reinforced the understanding that public service is multidimensional. It includes not only formal office holding, but also voluntary efforts to support community development, equity, and opportunity. Even in retirement, one can continue to influence society positively through action, counsel, and advocacy. That I also spent considerable time documenting my reflections, experiences, and insights. Writing offered a means to preserve lessons learned, to communicate both successes and challenges honestly, and to provide guidance for those who would follow in public service. This work was guided by transparency, integrity, and a desire to contribute to a fuller understanding of governance. It was not for personal glorification, but to provide clarity, context, and perspective for scholars, leaders, and citizens seeking to understand the responsibilities, challenges, and ethical dimensions of national leadership. Throughout these years, I remained attentive to the evolution of public opinion and historical judgment. I observed how decisions were interpreted, debated, and sometimes reevaluated as circumstances changed. This awareness reinforced the humility required of anyone who has held power. Influence is temporary, but the ethical and institutional legacy endures. Leadership is best measured not by immediate recognition, but by the lasting effect on governance, society, and the public trust. The post-presidency years were also a period of personal reflection and inner reconciliation. I contemplated the journey from early public service to the highest office, considering the growth, challenges, and moral lessons along the way. I found satisfaction not merely in accomplishments, but in the effort to govern with integrity, to respond to crises thoughtfully, and to prioritize the public good above personal ambition. These reflections strengthened both character and perspective, revealing the enduring value of principled leadership in shaping both history and society. By engaging actively in public life, offering guidance, participating in civic initiatives, and reflecting on historical impact, I sought to continue serving the nation with purpose and integrity. The post-presidency period, though quieter than years of office, offered its own opportunities for meaningful contribution, opportunities to teach, mentor, and support the ongoing development of institutions, leaders, and citizens. It was a period defined by reflection, engagement, and an enduring commitment to the principles that had guided my public service throughout life. I was born into a family whose values, struggles, and quiet determination would shape the course of my life in ways I could not yet comprehend. From the very earliest memories, I remember the rhythm of our home, the low hum of activity, the scent of wood smoke from the hearth curling through the rooms, and the soft, steady light of morning filtering through the windows. Even as a child, I sensed that our household was built on a foundation of careful discipline, mutual respect, and moral expectation. My parents, though not affluent, possessed an integrity and steadfastness that left an indelible impression on me. They were not men and women of grand gestures, but of consistent, thoughtful action. I observed how they navigated daily challenges, from tending the small garden that provided much of our sustenance to balancing household budgets with scrupulous care. Each act seemed imbued with intention, and I absorbed, often unconsciously, lessons of responsibility, honesty, and perseverance. Evenings in our home were quiet yet filled with the richness of family life. By candlelight, we would gather in the main room to share stories of past generations, tales of ancestors who had endured hardship, who had faced adversity with courage, and who had upheld the principles of honesty and diligence were recounted with reverence. I listened attentively, wide-eyed, to the accounts of distant relatives, imagining their lives in vivid detail. These narratives were more than entertainment. They were moral instruction, shaping my understanding of right and wrong, of courage and conscience, and of the importance of enduring principles amidst a world of change and uncertainty. My earliest lessons in education came not from a formal classroom, but from the small, intimate teachings of my parents. They guided me through reading and arithmetic, instilling both knowledge and curiosity. I remember sitting on a wooden chair, leaning over books with pages worn and frayed, tracing letters with my finger as I spoke them aloud. My parents encouraged me to ask questions, to explore the why behind each fact, and to consider not only what was written, but what it meant. This nurturing of curiosity fostered in me a love of learning that would never diminish. Even when I stumbled over difficult passages or misunderstood concepts, their patience and encouragement taught me that persistence and effort are as vital as natural talent. Our neighborhood was small but vibrant, a community where neighbors knew one another well and daily life was interwoven with social bonds. I recall wandering through narrow streets, the dirt softened by rain, and watching men and women engage in work or conversation, hearing the laughter of children as they played, and sensing the intricate web of relationships that connected every household. I observed carefully, absorbing lessons not found in books, how people interacted, the respect accorded to honesty, the subtleties of influence, and the quiet consequences of action. These early observations fostered a keen awareness of human behavior and the social structures that govern communal life. Even as a child, I began to understand that character alone is insufficient. Understanding the context, the motivations, and the needs of others is equally essential. The work of the household offered daily lessons in responsibility. I helped where I could, small hands learning to lift, carry, and tend. I fetched water, swept floors, and assisted in preparing meals. Each task, though mundane, contributed to the smooth functioning of the household and, more importantly, to a sense of belonging and purpose. I noticed how a single neglected chore could ripple outward, creating frustration or inconvenience for others. These experiences instilled in me an early appreciation for diligence, foresight, and the value of contributing to a collective good. Leaving the presidency was both a relief and a profound adjustment. After years of constant responsibility, scrutiny, and public engagement, stepping away from the highest office brought an unfamiliar quiet. Yet even in this quieter phase, the weight of experience and the lessons learned remained deeply present. I approached this new chapter with a mixture of reflection, gratitude, and a sense of ongoing responsibility, not to an office, but to the nation and its history. The transition to private life required adaptation. Days that had once been consumed by meetings, briefings, and legislative deliberations now offered space for contemplation, personal pursuits, and reconnection with family and friends. I returned to familiar routines, yet with a heightened awareness of the impact of the past years. Even without the demands of the presidency, the mind remained engaged, reflecting on the decisions made, the successes achieved, and the challenges navigated. The perspective afforded by distance allowed for a deeper understanding of both personal growth and the broader implications of leadership. Reflection became a daily practice. I revisited the decisions that had defined my presidency, considering both the intended outcomes and the unforeseen consequences. I examined policies, interactions, and moments of both triumph and difficulty, striving to understand what had been done well and where improvement was possible. This process was not motivated by self-criticism alone, but by a desire to preserve lessons for future leaders, for the benefit of the nation, and for the enduring integrity of public service. Even in private life, public engagement continued in different forms. I corresponded with former colleagues, mentors, and citizens who sought advice or shared reflections on the nation's ongoing challenges. I attended civic events and educational forums, offering insight into governance and leadership while also listening to the perspectives of a new generation. These interactions reinforced the continuity of public service. One's responsibility to the nation does not end with a term of office, and influence can continue in thoughtful guidance, mentorship, and advocacy. Historical perspective became an important lens through which I viewed my actions. I considered the long arc of the nation's development, the struggles and successes of prior administrations, and the evolving expectations of the public. I reflected on how each presidency contributes to the continuity and stability of institutions, the evolution of public trust, and the shaping of national character. This reflection underscored the humility required of leaders. One serves not for personal glory, but as a custodian of enduring principles and public welfare. Family, too, played a renewed role in life after the presidency. Time once constrained by office and duty could now be devoted to personal connections, shared experiences, and the simple yet profound joys of domestic life. These moments reinforced the human dimension of leadership, the need for balance, the sustenance of relationships, and the grounding influence of loved ones. They reminded me that even amidst national responsibilities, personal bonds are a source of strength, resilience, and perspective. Writing, reading, and study occupied much of my post-presidency reflection. I explored history, law, economics, and literature, seeking both personal enrichment and a deeper understanding of the forces shaping the nation. I also began documenting experiences, decisions, and insights, recognizing that preserving a record of lessons learned could provide guidance for future generations. These endeavors were a continuation of service, though in a quieter, reflective capacity, contributing not through direct authority, but through wisdom, counsel, and recorded experience. The post-presidency period also offered time to consider legacy. I pondered the policies enacted, the crises managed, and the ethical choices made. I asked how these actions would be perceived by citizens, historians, and future leaders. I sought to understand the ways in which governance shapes not only immediate outcomes, but long-term institutions, public trust, and national culture. This awareness reinforced the importance of principle, integrity, and foresight, underscoring that the impact of leadership extends far beyond the term of office. Even in retirement, I remained engaged with the nation's development. I offered advice when sought, participated in civic discussions, and observed political and social changes with interest and concern. Yet I also embraced the quieter joys of reflection, personal study, and family life. This balance between continued engagement and the serenity of private reflection defined the richness of the post-presidency years, offering insight into the enduring responsibilities and privileges of having served at the nation's highest level. Serving in Congress was both a privilege and a formidable challenge. I entered the national legislature with the understanding that this was the arena where the nation's laws were shaped, its policies debated, and its future direction determined. Yet the idealism I carried from local and state politics quickly encountered the complexity, diversity, and sometimes friction of national governance. Every bill, every discussion, and every vote demanded careful consideration, informed judgment, and an awareness of both immediate and long-term consequences. Early in my congressional career, I focused intently on understanding the pressing issues of the nation. I studied proposed legislation, economic trends, and social conditions, seeking a comprehensive understanding before taking any public position. I met with colleagues from different states and backgrounds, discussing both regional interests and national priorities. I listened to constituents' concerns through letters, petitions, and public meetings, striving to reconcile the practical needs of citizens with the broader principles of justice, equity, and national stability. These initial months were a period of observation, reflection, and disciplined study, a time to prepare for effective participation in the legislative process. As I grew more comfortable in the halls of Congress, I began to take an active role in legislative initiatives. I proposed measures aimed at improving infrastructure, promoting fair economic practices, and enhancing public education. Each proposal required extensive research, negotiation with colleagues, and careful articulation of its benefits and implications. I discovered that drafting legislation is both an art and a science. The language must be precise, the provisions enforceable, and the intent clear. Beyond technicalities, I had to anticipate reactions, identify potential opposition, and build coalitions to ensure passage. This process tested my patience, judgment, and skill in negotiation. Debate was a central feature of congressional life. In committee meetings and on the floor, I encountered opposing viewpoints, ideological differences, and occasional personal animosities. I learned to present arguments persuasively yet respectfully, to listen carefully to dissenting opinions, and to seek common ground without sacrificing principle. These experiences reinforced my understanding that effective leadership relies on a combination of knowledge, diplomacy, and moral clarity. Convincing others is rarely about force or dominance. It is about reason, integrity, and the ability to demonstrate how policies serve the public interest. One of the most demanding aspects of this period was navigating sectional and regional tensions. Differing economic interests, social policies, and cultural perspectives created a landscape of conflicting priorities. I sought to understand the perspectives of colleagues from various regions, recognizing that compromise, negotiation, and empathy were essential to achieve meaningful legislation. At the same time, I remained vigilant that compromise should not undermine fundamental principles or justice. Balancing these concerns required both strategic acumen and ethical clarity, and each decision was weighed carefully for its immediate and long-term impact. Committee work offered another avenue to influence national policy. Serving on committees allowed me to examine specific issues in depth: budget allocations, infrastructure projects, and public welfare initiatives among them. I consulted with experts, reviewed reports, and engaged with stakeholders to craft recommendations that were informed, practical, and just. This work, though less visible to the general public, was essential in shaping legislation and ensuring that policies were implemented effectively. I took pride in the diligence and thoroughness required, knowing that careful preparation underpins lasting impact. Public accountability remained a guiding principle. I maintained correspondence with constituents, traveled to communities to hear concerns firsthand, and attended public meetings to explain legislative work. These engagements grounded my understanding of how policies affected daily life and reminded me that governance is ultimately about serving people, not personal ambition or partisan advantage. Listening, observing, and responding to the public cultivated both humility and insight, reinforcing the importance of remaining connected to those whom I was elected to serve. Throughout this period, I also encountered the personal challenges of balancing ambition, ethical responsibility, and the demands of office. Long sessions, intense debates, and constant scrutiny tested endurance and focus. Yet these pressures honed resilience, sharpened judgment, and clarified priorities. I learned that leadership is as much about self-discipline and reflection as it is about action or rhetoric. Ethical leadership, in particular, requires constant vigilance. Every vote, every word, and every decision is a reflection of both character and principle. By the end of this period in Congress, I had begun to build a reputation for thoughtful deliberation, principled advocacy, and effective negotiation. Key legislative achievements, whether in infrastructure, education, or public welfare, demonstrated that practical solutions and ethical governance are compatible. The challenges faced and overcome reinforced lessons in strategy, integrity, and the complex interplay between idealism and pragmatism. These experiences prepared me for the next phase of service, where the responsibilities would expand further and the stakes would be even higher. The path toward the presidency, where the cumulative lessons of local, state, and national politics would be tested on the greatest stage of all. Social interaction and friendship also shaped my development. Through collaboration, debate, and occasional rivalry, I learned to navigate relationships with integrity and strategy. I recognized that influence is built not through force or cunning alone, but through trust, respect, and consistent behavior. I practiced public speaking, reasoning, and persuasion in small gatherings, gradually gaining confidence and skill that would later prove invaluable in professional and political arenas. Every conversation and engagement was an opportunity to refine judgment, develop empathy, and understand the complex dynamics of human interaction. By the time I approached full adulthood, I had begun to envision a life of public service. The lessons of childhood, adolescence, and early work had converged into a coherent framework of knowledge, skill, and principle. I understood that leadership required more than ambition. It demanded preparation, integrity, and the willingness to bear responsibility for the welfare of others. I recognized that education, practical experience, observation, and reflection were all essential in developing the capacity to serve effectively and ethically. The ambition that had quietly grown within me was tempered by the awareness that meaningful contribution requires both preparation and principle. I prepared to embark on a career in law and, ultimately, public service. I carried with me a deep sense of purpose and the understanding that each action, decision, and choice would matter. I had witnessed both the possibilities and limitations of human effort, learned the value of patience and perseverance, and cultivated the ethical foundation necessary for leadership. These years of young adulthood were not marked by grand events or public acclaim, but by careful, deliberate preparation, by the cultivation of mind, character, and moral compass. It was a time of growth that would form the bedrock upon which all subsequent achievements and responsibilities would rest. Stepping into public life was both exhilarating and daunting. The world of politics, with its intricate negotiations, public expectations, and delicate balance of influence, was unlike anything I had previously encountered. My earliest ventures into local governance were guided by a mixture of ambition, curiosity, and a profound sense of responsibility. I understood that entering the public arena meant more than seeking recognition. It required commitment, ethical judgment, and the willingness to shoulder the burdens of decision-making that would affect not just individuals, but entire communities. That I began by attending town meetings, listening attentively to the concerns and aspirations of my fellow citizens. The meetings were often lively, sometimes contentious, with every issue, from infrastructure repairs to public safety, sparked by passionate debate. I observed closely, noting not only the content of discussions, but the personalities and strategies of those who spoke. Leadership, I realized, is as much about listening and understanding as it is about guiding or directing. Early on, I discovered that the ability to comprehend diverse perspectives, to mediate disputes, and to find common ground would be essential skills for any public servant. My first responsibilities were modest, yet each carried its own weight and consequence. Drafting proposals for local improvements, managing resources for community projects, and addressing petitions from citizens allowed me to witness the direct impact of governance. I recall examining budgets late into the night, calculating allocations for roads, schools, and public services, acutely aware that every decision affected the daily lives of ordinary people. It was both humbling and motivating, reinforcing the notion that public service is a privilege accompanied by significant responsibility. Election campaigns were a new and revealing experience. The act of presenting myself to the community, articulating my intentions, and earning the trust of constituents demanded both preparation and authenticity. I engaged in countless conversations, shaking hands, listening to concerns, and clarifying my positions on issues ranging from local taxation to infrastructure improvement. I learned that trust is earned through sincerity, consistency, and responsiveness. Campaigning was not simply about rhetoric. It was an exercise in empathy, communication, and understanding the nuanced needs of the populace. Once elected, the practicalities of office became my daily reality. Meetings with council members, discussions of budgets, oversight of municipal projects. Each task required both attention to detail and the ability to see the broader implications of decisions. I found myself navigating the tension between immediate needs and long-term planning, balancing competing interests while remaining committed to fairness and efficacy. The challenges were numerous: delayed construction projects, unexpected financial shortfalls, and occasional disagreements among council members. Each problem tested my patience, judgment, and ability to negotiate effectively, revealing the complex interplay between authority, responsibility, and public expectation. Public engagement was a constant and meaningful part of my role. I received letters from citizens, listened to petitions, and often visited neighborhoods to observe conditions firsthand. Walking through streets, speaking with shopkeepers, laborers, and families, I became intimately aware of how policies translated into daily life. These interactions reinforced the principle that governance is fundamentally human. Every decision carries consequences, and every policy touches real lives. I took care to approach each concern with seriousness, recognizing that even small acts of attention or responsiveness could build trust and foster a sense of communal support. Alongside administrative duties, I began to navigate the subtleties of political alliances and relationships. Collaboration with other officials required tact, patience, and discernment. I learned to identify shared goals, negotiate compromises, and recognize when steadfastness or flexibility was appropriate. I observed the dynamics of influence, persuasion, and consensus building, understanding that leadership is not about unilateral action but about guiding collective effort toward common benefit. These lessons in political acumen would prove invaluable as I progressed to higher offices. The pressures of office also brought personal challenges: long hours, public scrutiny, and the constant need for sound judgment tested endurance and resilience. I relied on reflection, counsel from trusted advisors, and occasional moments of solitude to maintain perspective and clarity. I became increasingly aware of the importance of tempering ambition with integrity, ensuring that every action and decision aligned with both principle and public service. The experience taught me that leadership is not a position of privilege alone. It is a responsibility that demands ethical consistency, diligence, and humility. Through these formative experiences, I began to understand the broader purpose of public service. It is not the applause of constituents, the recognition of peers, or the accumulation of personal advantage that defines a successful tenure. Rather, it is the careful, conscientious application of knowledge, judgment, and moral principle to improve the lives of others. Each project completed, each dispute resolved, and each policy implemented reinforced my conviction that public office is both a privilege and a sacred trust. I carried these lessons forward, knowing that they would guide my decisions and actions as I prepared for the challenges of higher office, including the role of governor and beyond. Stepping onto the national stage brought a sense of both exhilaration and solemn responsibility. While local and state governance had offered valuable lessons in leadership, legislation, and public engagement, the arena of national politics introduced a scale and complexity unlike anything I had previously encountered. Here, the decisions I faced would not merely affect a single community or state, but could influence the lives of millions and shape the trajectory of the nation itself. I approached this new chapter with both ambition and humility, aware that every action, speech, and decision carried weight far beyond my immediate perception. That my first steps in national politics involved careful observation and preparation. I studied the structure of Congress, the legislative process, and the intricacies of federal governance. I attended sessions, listened to debates, and analyzed the strategies and oratory of seasoned legislators. I noted the interplay of ideology, regional interest, and political alliance, realizing that influence at this level requires not only knowledge and conviction, but also tact, patience, and an ability to anticipate the consequences of every move. Each session offered lessons in persuasion, compromise, and the ethical exercise of power. Campaigning for national office demanded a new kind of engagement. Unlike state elections, where personal connections and local reputation could carry significant weight, a national race required articulation of a vision that resonated across diverse regions and constituencies. I traveled extensively, meeting citizens, business leaders, and community organizations, listening to their concerns and aspirations. These interactions were both enlightening and humbling. I encountered perspectives that challenged my assumptions, situations that demanded careful reflection, and voices that reinforced the importance of integrity, empathy, and responsiveness in leadership. Debates and public speaking became central to my national political experience. Each speech was crafted with meticulous attention to both content and tone, designed to convey principle, competence, and commitment to service. I drew upon my years of experience in local and state governance, illustrating practical solutions and emphasizing ethical responsibility. I learned that rhetoric alone is insufficient. Credibility emerges from a combination of demonstrated action, moral clarity, and the ability to address real concerns with reasoned solutions. The lessons of persuasion, earned through careful preparation and attentive listening, became indispensable tools in navigating the national political landscape. Once elected to national office, the scope of responsibility expanded dramatically. I was tasked with understanding complex legislation, evaluating national policy proposals, and considering their impacts across states, industries, and social strata. I immersed myself in the details of federal budgets, infrastructure projects, economic policies, and social programs. I met with colleagues from diverse regions, learning to reconcile competing priorities while remaining faithful to principle. Each decision required careful deliberation, weighing practical feasibility against moral and ethical considerations. The stakes were immense, and the margin for error narrow. Navigating the intricate world of party politics demanded both skill and integrity. Aligning with like-minded colleagues, forming coalitions, and negotiating compromises were necessary for effective governance. Yet I remained mindful of the need to balance strategic alliance with independent judgment. Political loyalty must never overshadow ethical responsibility, and persuasion must always be rooted in truth and fairness. These experiences reinforce the notion that leadership on a national scale is not merely about influence or power, but about the careful application of principle to achieve the greater good. Public engagement remained a cornerstone of my approach. Letters from constituents, invitations to speak at public gatherings, and conversations with civic organizations provided insights into the needs and sentiments of the populace. I traveled frequently, observing firsthand the conditions of communities, industries, and institutions across the nation. Each encounter strengthened my understanding that governance must be responsive, informed, and attentive to the realities of citizens' lives. Policy, I learned, must be grounded in lived experience, not abstract theory. Early challenges in national politics included navigating sectional tensions, economic debates, and differing interpretations of federal authority. I studied historical precedents, consulted with experienced colleagues, and engaged in reasoned discourse to find solutions that were both effective and just. I recognize that national leadership requires patience, foresight, and the ability to reconcile conflicting interests while maintaining ethical clarity. Each success and setback offered lessons in resilience, negotiation, and principled decision-making, preparing me for the even greater responsibilities that would come with the presidency. By the conclusion of these formative years in national politics, I had gained both confidence and perspective. I understood the complexity of federal governance, the importance of coalition building, and the imperative of ethical leadership. I had learned to balance ambition with prudence, vision with practicality, and public expectation with moral responsibility. These experiences laid the foundation for my eventual pursuit of the highest office in the land, equipping me with the insight, judgment, and resilience necessary to serve the nation with both dedication and integrity. Taking the oath of office was a moment of profound gravity and humility. Standing before the nation, I felt the weight of responsibility settle upon my shoulders in a way that words alone cannot capture. The presidency is more than a position. It is a sacred trust, a commitment to safeguard the welfare, security, and prosperity of millions. I knew that every decision I would make, every policy I would enact, and every word I would speak could have consequences far beyond what any individual might anticipate. This awareness guided my every action from the very first day. Inauguration Day was both ceremonial and deeply reflective. As I looked out over the crowd, I saw the faces of citizens from all walks of life, each representing hopes, expectations, and the collective aspirations of the nation. I was acutely aware that my leadership would be tested not only by immediate crises, but by the ongoing demands of governance, requiring a delicate balance between vision and pragmatism, principle and political reality. Even amidst the celebratory atmosphere, my mind was focused on the work ahead, the responsibilities that could not be postponed or delegated. The first weeks of the presidency were consumed with assessment, consultation, and strategic planning. I convened advisors, cabinet members, and experienced officials to review pressing national matters: fiscal policy, economic stability, infrastructure needs, education, social welfare, and international relations. Each briefing underscored the complexity of the office and the interconnected nature of challenges facing the nation. I took meticulous notes, asked pointed questions, and sought to understand both the short-term implications and long-term consequences of proposed policies. Decision-making at this level required not only knowledge but also judgment, foresight, and ethical clarity. Administrative organization was another priority, ensuring that the executive branch operated efficiently, transparently, and responsively demanded close attention. I established procedures for communication, delegation, and oversight, meeting regularly with department heads to review plans, progress, and potential obstacles. I emphasized accountability, urging each official to consider the impact of their decisions on citizens' lives. These efforts reinforced my belief that leadership is exercised not only through vision, but through effective management, clear direction, and the cultivation of capable teams. Public engagement remained central to my approach. I continued to correspond with citizens, meet with civic organizations, and attend public gatherings. These interactions provided insight into the concerns of ordinary Americans, allowing me to gauge the effectiveness of policies and anticipate emerging needs. I found that attentive listening, empathy, and transparent communication were as essential at the national level as they had been during my earlier political career. Governing, I realized, is not an abstract endeavor. It is rooted in understanding human experience and responding with both practicality and compassion. Early policy initiatives focused on areas with the potential for immediate and tangible impact. I prioritized fiscal responsibility, seeking to ensure that government expenditures were prudent and that revenues were managed efficiently. Infrastructure projects received attention, aimed at improving transportation, commerce, and public safety. Education reform and public welfare programs were reviewed and expanded where necessary, reflecting a commitment to equity and long-term national development. Each policy was approached with careful analysis, consultation, and an awareness of both practical feasibility and ethical responsibility. Decision-making at this stage was inevitably challenging. Conflicting interests, political pressures, and differing perspectives required balance, discernment, and sometimes difficult judgment calls. I learned that leadership demands both courage and humility. Courage to act decisively when necessary, and humility to acknowledge limitations, listen to counsel, and adapt when warranted. Even as the weight of the office pressed heavily, these early months solidified my understanding that integrity, clarity of purpose, and steadfast attention to the public good are indispensable qualities for effective governance. Reflecting on these initial weeks, I recognized that the presidency is a continuous learning process. While prior experience in state and national politics provided preparation, the scope and immediacy of national leadership introduced unique challenges. Each decision was a lesson in responsibility, each interaction a reminder of the human dimension of policy, and each success and setback an opportunity to refine judgment and approach. The early presidency, I realized, is both an initiation and a test, a period that shapes the trajectory of leadership for the years to come. The decision to run for the presidency was not made lightly. It was the culmination of years of public service, experience, and reflection on what I could contribute to the nation at the highest level. I understood that the campaign ahead would test every skill, principle, and ounce of endurance I possessed. It would be a trial of strategy, persuasion, and resilience, a journey where every speech, every interaction, and every decision could shape the outcome. Yet I embraced the challenge, guided by the conviction that leadership is a responsibility to serve the people with integrity, vision, and dedication. The campaign began with careful planning and coordination. I worked closely with trusted advisors, strategists, and political allies to establish priorities, identify key constituencies, and craft messages that would resonate across diverse regions. I studied the political landscape meticulously, analyzing voter concerns, regional differences, and national trends. I understood that success would require more than enthusiasm or oratory. It demanded preparation, discipline, and the ability to connect authentically with citizens from all walks of life. Travel became the heartbeat of the campaign. I crisscrossed the country, attending rallies, civic gatherings, and community events. Each meeting offered a window into the hopes, fears, and needs of the electorate. I listened to farmers recounting the challenges of daily life, merchants describing economic uncertainty, and families sharing aspirations for their children. These encounters reminded me that the presidency is not an abstract office, but a human vocation, where policies and decisions have profound and personal consequences. Listening, I realized, is as crucial as speaking in the art of leadership. Public addresses and debates were both exhilarating and exacting. I devoted hours to crafting speeches, ensuring clarity, sincerity, and connection with the audience. Every word was weighed for accuracy, tone, and resonance. I studied opponents' positions, anticipating arguments and preparing reasoned responses that reflected both principle and practicality. Each debate offered an opportunity to demonstrate leadership not through dominance, but through reasoned judgment, moral clarity, and the ability to communicate a vision that inspired confidence and trust. Behind the scenes, the campaign demanded constant coordination and attention to detail. Staff meetings, correspondence with supporters, fundraising efforts, and media engagement required vigilance and organization. I met frequently with advisors to review progress, refine strategy, and address emerging challenges. These moments were a reminder that successful leadership is rarely spontaneous. It is built upon planning, foresight, and disciplined execution. Yet throughout it all, I remained mindful that the campaign was not an end in itself, but a means to serve the nation responsibly once entrusted with its highest office. The election itself was a period of tension and anticipation. I followed returns closely, aware that every vote reflected the trust and hopes of citizens across the country. The process, while rigorous, reinforced my faith in democratic institutions and the collective voice of the electorate. When the results were announced and victory confirmed, I felt a profound mixture of humility, gratitude, and resolve. I understood that winning the presidency is not a personal triumph alone. It is the assumption of a sacred responsibility to govern with wisdom, fairness, and dedication. Reflecting on the journey from local office to the presidency, I recognized the cumulative lessons of each stage of public service. The skills honed in town meetings, the challenges navigated as governor, the debates engaged in Congress, and the relationships cultivated on the national stage had all prepared me to meet the demands of the highest office. Leadership, I realized, is forged through experience, tempered by principle, and guided by an unwavering commitment to serve the public good. Even in the moments of celebration, I felt the weight of responsibility acutely. I thought of the citizens whose lives would be affected by my decisions, of the institutions I would uphold, and of the ethical standards I must maintain. Victory was not a conclusion, but a commencement, a beginning of a period where every action, every policy, and every decision would be scrutinized not only for effectiveness, but for integrity, fairness, and consequence. I embraced this understanding fully, ready to dedicate myself entirely to the service of the nation that in those early days following the election, I reflected on the personal growth, discipline, and ethical fortitude required to reach this point. I thought of the mentors, allies, and citizens who had supported, advised, and challenged me along the way. I thought of the resilience demanded by setbacks, the patience honed through negotiation, and the clarity gained through reflection. These reflections reinforced the understanding that the presidency is the culmination of a lifetime of learning, service, and principled action, and that to lead effectively, one must remain steadfast, thoughtful, and deeply attuned to the needs of the people. The work of the household offered daily lessons in responsibility. I helped where I could, small hands learning to lift, carry, and tend. I fetched water, swept floors, and assisted in preparing meals. Each task, though mundane, contributed to the smooth functioning of the household and, more importantly, to a sense of belonging and purpose. I noticed how a single neglected chore could ripple outward, creating frustration or inconvenience for others. These experiences instilled in me an early appreciation for diligence, foresight, and the value of contributing to a collective good. Seasonal changes brought with them both challenge and wonder. Winters were harsh, and the cold penetrated even our modest home. Yet I recall the beauty of frost-laden mornings, the crisp air invigorating the senses, and the warm comfort of the hearth. Spring and summer were times of growth and observation. As the garden flourished, animals gave birth, and the world seemed to pulse with life. I wandered fields and forests, curious about plants, insects, and the patterns of nature. These moments of quiet exploration taught me patience, observation, and reverence for the natural world. They also offered perspective. Life was vast, interconnected, and complex, and yet every element had its place, purpose, and rhythm. Religious and moral instruction was woven into the fabric of our days. My parents, while not rigid, encouraged reflection on right and wrong, honesty and integrity, and the consequences of one's choices. We attended services in the local congregation, and even there I noticed the subtle interplay of authority, community expectation, and individual conscience. I listened to sermons, sometimes struggling to comprehend their full meaning, yet sensing the enduring truths they sought to convey. These teachings emphasized responsibility not only to family and community, but to broader society, planting the seeds of an enduring commitment to civic duty and ethical conduct. Beyond family and faith, I became aware of the broader society in which we lived. I listened to conversations in the streets, absorbed stories from travelers, and noted the ways commerce, governance, and social expectations shaped everyday life. I learned to read the subtle signs of advantage and disadvantage, respect and neglect, influence and limitation. Each observation sharpened my understanding of the human condition and the complex web of cause and effect that governs society. By paying attention, I began to cultivate discernment, a sense of when to speak, when to act, and when to observe. Play, too, was an essential part of my upbringing, though even in recreation I found lessons. Games with peers were arenas of strategy, cooperation, and sometimes rivalry. I learned to navigate rules, negotiate disputes, and recognize the balance between competition and fairness. These experiences, though lighthearted on the surface, fostered early skills in negotiation, critical thinking, and empathy. They also reinforced the understanding that human interaction, whether in play or in serious endeavor, carries both consequence and opportunity for growth. By the end of my earliest years, I had absorbed lessons not through formal instruction alone, but through observation, participation, and reflection. I had witnessed the quiet dignity of labor, the subtleties of human interaction, and the enduring importance of principle in guiding conduct. My parents' example, the narratives of our ancestors, the rhythms of daily life, and the intricate web of community taught me that character, curiosity, and conscientious effort are inseparable from meaningful achievement. These foundations, laid in the simplicity and rigor of childhood, would remain with me, shaping not only my ambitions but the manner in which I approached every challenge and every responsibility in the years to come.